Hello and welcome to this demo of Kawa Analytics. I'm going to just take you through 3 quick slides to set the context for why we built Kawa, how it fits into the existing ecosystem, and how we're different. And then I will show you the product. So without further ado, let's get started. So our belief at Kawa is that there's this missing discipline, operational intelligence. And currently, traditional analytics is overstepping its bounds into this new territory. So there are a few differences between traditional analytics and operational intelligence, namely who does it, what they do, and why they do it. So in traditional analytics, the goal is really to enable analysts to ask questions of data in order to uncover hidden insights in the data. Whereas operational intelligence is much more geared towards frontline business operators and helping them to impose rules on the data in order to manage a process. So I'll give you an example of this. Kawa was originally built as a self-service tool inside of one of Europe's largest banks. And the use case it was designed for was to enable traders to price their inventory using spreadsheet-like formulas to then feed the prices into the quotation system that the sales team uses to quote prospects. And this was a hugely important process because the number one predictor of a prospect converting to a customer was the time that it took to issue quotations. And so by automating that whole process in a self-service way, they were able to increase their conversion rate. So that brings us to the second point here. Traditional analytics is really about measuring and tracking business performance. How are we doing? How do we compare this period to the prior period? And that sort of question. To just do like a sense check as to the performance of the organization. Whereas operational intelligence is about actually driving and impacting business performance, just like I described in that previous example. And then a third big difference is that analytics is really exploratory. It's curiosity driven. It's not necessarily goal directed. We want to uncover unknowns in analytics. Whereas operational intelligence is highly goal directed. I know before I come up with my pricing strategy, I know that my goal is to maximize the number of successful conversions and to maximize revenue. So that's in a nutshell the difference between traditional analytics and operational intelligence. Now the advantage of Kawa is that we support both of these in a single combined platform. And so I'm going to, in the demo, give you a demo of a business operator doing an operational workflow and then an analyst doing an analytical workflow as well. So what is Kawa? It is a collaborative no-code spreadsheet for big data. So there's really 4 things that we do. One is we provide a no-code way for combining data from multiple sources. Then we enable a business user to programmatically apply business logic in a no-code way. Then finally, we allow you to put automations on top of that business logic and combined data. And then finally, share and collaborate with people either in your organization or in partner organizations, customers, vendors, suppliers, that sort of thing. And so Kawa is really most comparable to Excel. We are designed for the Excel user. Now, when we've given demos to people, a lot of what they come away saying is, you're kind of like Tableau plus Alteryx workflows designed for an Excel user. That's the easiest way to kind of think about the problem space and the user that we target. So I'm just going to go through a couple of differences between Excel versus Kawa. One is that in Excel, formulas and automations are all code-based. Think like VLOOKUP, SUMIFs, and then the whole VBA language. In Kawa, formulas and automations are no-code. Another big difference is data volume. So Excel, you hit a limit at 1.4 million. In Kawa, we have no limits on data volume. So we have a hedge fund, for example, using us on trillions of rows right now. In Excel, data updates are manual and messy. you may need to actually change your logic as you get new data. In Kawa, we handle changes automatically and gracefully. In Excel, sharing formulas requires sharing data. So if you want to share the same formula, for example, with 10 different customer organizations, you're going to need to replicate that 10 times. In Kawa, you can share the formulas without sharing the data. So that enables you to centrally manage both data access as well as formulas. In Excel, there's no version control. Let me move this above. In Kawa, in contrast, we enable you to snapshot data at different points in time. So you can have a full auditability and traceability of what your data looked like 30 days ago, 60 days ago, 90 days ago. And then in Excel, there's no distributed ownership. There's sort of everybody owns the Excel spreadsheet and everybody can overwrite everybody else's stuff. And there's no way to track who did what. In Kawa, different users own different columns in your sheets. So without further ado, let's jump in and show you what this is all about. So the data source that we're looking at today is a hotel reservations data source. And so I want you to imagine that I'm a hotel manager, and the thing that I need to do is find my top 3 guests who don't have a future booking in order to be able to send them a marketing campaign. So here we're looking at the operational data about bookings, like who is the guest, what room did they stay in, when did they book, when did they cancel, or if they did cancel, when did they arrive and leave, why did they book, and which hotel did they stay at. What we're missing here is the financial data about how much they spent while they were in house. And so that's contained over in this revenues table, and this can come from a completely different system. So we do cross-system joins in Kawa. And so here we have the name of the person who made the payment for the transaction, when the item was consumed, what it was, and then the amount. So we need to combine these together in order to find top 3 guests with no future bookings. Pop back into the reservations data source here. Now you'll notice that there's a couple of ways up here that we can manipulate the data, like grouping, sorting, top end, filters, etc. All of these are kind of drop zones. So I can, if I want to group my reservations by guest, I can simply drag the guest name to the group icon, and then it goes ahead and groups my entire reservations data source. So I can expand this down and see these are the 10 reservations that make up that Jill Acosta has made. And then we can set custom aggregations, like maybe here I want to do account unique, and maybe here I want to do a concat unique, and then it shows me all of the reasons they booked and all of the hotels that they stayed at. And so just like that, in a couple of clicks, what I've done is turn a fact table about reservations into a dimension table about guests. And so now what I want to do is bring the revenue data into this guest table. Now the common link between reservations and revenue is the guest name. So if I hover over guest name, you'll notice this link icon appears. If I go ahead and click on that, it's scanning the entire workspace and finding all of the sheets that have a column with these values. So it's not based on column name, it's based on like Jill Acosta, Andrew Adams, and the actual values in the column. So you'll notice here it's automatically linked guest name on payer name based on this algorithm, the similarity algorithm that runs in the background. I'll go ahead and hit apply, and so now I can see I've selected Jill Acosta in the top table, and it's showing me all of Jill Acosta's transactions in the bottom table. And if we go and click on Andrew Adams, now we can see all of Andrew Adams' transactions. And so we've got the total here for that specific guest. Now, I don't want to have to click through these guests one by one to look at their totals individually. What I want is for this number here to appear in the table right here. And so I can do that by simply grabbing this column and moving it up into the main view. And so when I drop that, you'll notice we've just done the equivalent of a VLOOKUP in Excel, but we've done it in a no-code way. And you'll notice that this is a dynamic aggregation. So if I change the sum in this bottom view to an average, it's gone and changed the average, the aggregation in the top view as well. I'll move this back to a sum. So now I want to find who are my top 3 guests. So I can go ahead and sort them. Now I can see right away who my top 3 are, but really what I want to do is like truncate this list to just those 3 and then get that in my inbox so that I can target them with marketing campaigns. So we'll do a top N filter here, top 3 by amount. And when I do that, it's going to first show the top 3 reservations here. That's not what I want. I want the top 3 guests. So we'll just flip on this group by and say group by the current group. I'll go ahead and hit apply. And so now we've got our top 3. But now you'll notice that 2 of these guests have a future booking. So I don't want them. I don't want to market to them. They've already got a future booking. I want to find the next top 2 who don't have a future booking. So we need to filter on this check-in date. And so by default, this is a row-level filter applying to the individual reservations. But I actually want to filter on the guest level of detail. So we can do that by saying, just flipping the apply to setting to the guest name, and now it's doing a maximum check-in date by guest. And so we want our maximum check-in date by guest to be in the past. Now, when I go and hit apply, I want you to watch what happens over here. Okay, Kelly and Judy have disappeared and they've been replaced by Lance and Taylor, whose last check-in dates were in the past. So today is May 2nd, for reference, which is probably a different day than the day on which you are watching this video. So what's happened? Well, the top 3 has recalculated within the context of that filter. Why that matters is because in a lot of tools, it doesn't recalculate. You have to do a lot of coding to get the order of operations to work in the way that you want. In Kawa, we do this in a complete no-code way. So now we've got our top 3 guests without a future booking, and so we want to automate this workflow so that we can take action on it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this little robot icon to create an automation. And so now I can either at a scheduled time, like 9 a.m. every Monday, or on data refresh, run this query. So I want to run it on data refresh. And now if you think from an operational perspective, how you're actually going to take action on this data, you only want to email your guest sort of once every, let's say, quarter. So you're not going to want to be bombarding them day after day after day if they're continually in the top N guests without future bookings. So we only want to know when something changes in this data. And that's why we have this option here to enable comparison with previous execution. And so I'll just be alerted on the new rows when some new guest appears in the top 3. We'll go ahead and click next. And let's give this a name. So this is my top 3 guests. And we'll hit save. And so now, just like that, we've set up our automation. To show you what it does, I'll just do a manual run now. And that's going to appear now in my email. And you can see here, we've got now our top 3 guests directly in a CSV file. So as a business user, I'm able to combine data from multiple sources in a many-to-many relationship, apply complex business logic, and put automations on top of that data, all without any coding. Now, you may want to run this in a more robust way than through CSV files and emails, if you wanted to scale your processes and integrate them with your CRM and marketing systems, for example. So the other thing we could do is take this business logic and materialize it in a database table. And then anything can connect to that database table. It could be Tableau, it could be Power BI, it could be like webhooks, integration with some external system, like choose your interface. So what we'll do is go ahead and transform this into a data source. We'll call this top 3 guests. And then we can enable snapshots. So this will track who were the top 3 guests at every single point in time when this query was run. So you have your entire history tracked. Go ahead and create that. And then, oops. Now we've just got 1 row per guest in this new table with the timestamp when the query was executed. So a couple of options for how you automate your business logic. You can either do it through CSV files, or you can do it through database tables that are written to a database of your choice. So that was to give you an idea of the business operator workflow. Now I'm going to give you a quick demo of an analyst workflow. So if I'm an analyst, one of the things I might want to know is what % of my revenue is coming from add-on products that get like upsold to guests in addition to their room nights. And then how is that % of add-on revenue changing over time? So you'll notice we've got this type of revenue column here. So I want to know what % of revenue comes from products. So I'm going to pick up type and drag it onto amount, and you'll notice there's this pivot on type action that we can take. So when I drop that, it goes and creates 2 columns, a service amount column and a product amount column. And what these are behind the scenes is just automatically generated formulas, like a sum if in Excel. And yeah, just to clarify here, we have all the functions of Excel directly available in Kawa. So now I want to know what % of my revenue is coming from products. And so I can grab product revenue and drag it on top of total revenue, and it's giving me kind of 3 options of common formulas that we can create. So what I want is a ratio. And what that ratio is doing is creating this aggregate formula behind the scenes for me. So again, you can always edit what's created from the no-code drag and drop gestures. And so now I want to see how is this % of product revenue changing over time. So we'll grab date and group by date, and then we can go ahead and create a chart directly from this measure. And it's showing us by day the evolution. We could say, show us the evolution by month, for example. Maybe change this into a bar chart. And from here you can drill down further. So we may want to see, well, on this specific day, what's the breakdown by payer name? We get guest level detail, and then on any one of these we can show the underlying data to see the transactions that make up that specific data point. You'll notice we've got the breadcrumbs here tracking June 2022, breakdown by payer name, and then we're looking at Sharon Hunter in the underlying data. So one of the principles that we've implemented in Kawa is that you should always be able to get to the raw underlying data. So that was just to give you a quick demo of how Kawa unites operational intelligence and traditional analytics in a single platform that is collaborative between your analyst teams and your business operations teams, who can all be working off of the same version of the truth. So thanks very much for watching. What to do next is head over to kawa.ai. If you want to book a demo with us, we can get you set up then on a trial version of the product. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.